All right, AEW Dynasty 2025. I have kind of a nuanced opinion about this show. I just ended a few minutes ago. The show went really, really late. I started watching it. The pre-show was around like 7:30. I wasn't really paying attention. 7:15, 7:30. The real show started at 8, and it went until past midnight. 12, maybe 12:15, 12:30, something like that. I don't remember, but I know it was past midnight. Very late show. So AEW has traditionally had great pay-per-views, and last month Revolution really set the bar high. Like, the bar was set really, really high. A lot of feuds were ended. There was a lot of big matches on that show, memorable stuff. This show did not quite meet that bar. In fact, it wasn't even close. The thing about this show is not only did it run long, but the problem with this show is that after about 2 hours of seeing almost the exact same type of match, you start to get numb to it. And as the show's on, I start to do other things while it's on in the background, so I'm not really paying attention. Now, I am paying attention for the review, but I'm not like intently watching. And it's funny because WWE has the opposite problem. You know, with them, the pay-per-views have 5 matches, but you have like an hour of commercials all put together. But AEW will give you more bang for your buck, no pun intended, but it sometimes goes too long. And this show, there were at least 3 matches on this show that did not need to be here. There were at least 3 matches that would have been fine on Dynamite or Collision. So it felt like that type of show. There really weren't that many feuds that were resolved here. I think what happened was that Revolution was the big sort of peak of a lot of the angles. And then now we're kind of rebooting and starting fresh going into All In. So I think Double or Nothing, you know, and then All In is probably going to be where a lot of these feuds culminate for the next, I guess the next season of the next 3 months or so, next quarter of AEW. But the problem is that the show, man, the AEW needs an overhaul. It really, really does in many ways. Now, that's not to say that this show didn't have good matches, because it did have plenty of good stuff. Actually, what's interesting is if you look at last year's Dynasty, let's not forget last year's Dynasty. Will Ospreay against Bryan Danielson and Swerve and Samoa Joe when Swerve won the title. That was a huge show, one of the better AEW pay-per-views, maybe the best pay-per-view of the year for AEW last year. This show did not meet that whatsoever. And we're going to go through match by match. Like I said, a lot of these matches would have been fine on television. Some of them went overly long when they didn't need to. We'll get into it. So, Will Ospreay opened the show against Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight's a guy who's been featured in New Japan, just came into AEW. I actually hadn't seen him wrestle before this. And he's impressive. He's a good wrestler. The issue is he's too much like everybody else. I've seen some of the older podcasters comment on the fact that AEW has a plethora of smaller athletic wrestlers that kind of work the same style. Lots of flips, lots of big stunts, lots of big dives and spots. And they got a lot of guys that do that. Will Ospreay is obviously the king of that, but he does it at a different level from a lot of other people. You've got Ricochet there. You've got Dante Martin and those guys. You've got a lot of the lucha talent that comes in. Then you've got guys like Speedball Mike Bailey, who just came in. So there's a lot of guys that just work this intense style. And I do like that intense style. The problem is when you see it every match, you know. Now, this was a good match. Will Ospreay won in about 13 minutes. I'm not going to say it was a classic, but it was a good, solid opener for the pay-per-view. And I like that they didn't go too all out, no pun intended, because there was more to come. The Hurt Syndicate against the Learning Tree, I didn't care. The Hurt Syndicate is my absolute favorite act in AEW right now. MVP is hilarious. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin look and feel like stars. They go out there, they're killers. Like, they bring a certain air of credibility to AEW. And the Learning Tree, which is Brian Keith and Big Bill, they've been featured, but they really haven't done much. Obviously the Hurt Syndicate's going to win. It's weird because on paper, this is basically heel versus heel, even though the Hurt Syndicate are baby faces to the fans because they love the Hurt Syndicate, and I do too. MJF made an appearance here, and I was thinking about this, and I was looking back, and I asked a couple of people, this is the first AEW pay-per-view where you didn't see a match from Hangman Page or from MJF. There have been shows that each one of those guys missed, but has there been an AEW pay-per-view that didn't have either MJF or Hangman? I can't think of any. And Hangman and MJF, and I hate to use this term because AEW uses it themselves, maybe for the wrong guys, but to me, Hangman is one of the pillars. And to have him not have a match on the show, I'm not saying that's bad because you got a big ass talent roster, but it's just surprising. But MJF did appear here. Mercedes Monae and Julia Hart. This match is a collision main event at best. Julia Hart has not had any sensible credibility in a long time, since maybe a year, since Willow beat her. Mercedes Moné's not going to lose. I would have expected this match to go 6-7 minutes. It went 13 minutes. Tony Khan likes to book long matches, even on television. He booked for himself, man, the sickos. But the problem is when you have a match where the winner is obvious, the longer a match goes, the more people start getting impatient. And by the end of this show, I come to realize that this match should not have been on this show. This right here is a TV match. This should not have been on this pay-per-view. Because if this was not on the pay-per-view, along with a couple other matches, I'm going to get to them, the show would have ended at a more reasonable time, and I think it would have been seen as a better show. This match did not add to the pay-per-view. All it did was take away from it, because it wasn't a must-see at all, nor was it a terrible match. It just didn't add anything. It was just there. Now, the Death Riders, Claudio, Pac, and Wheeler Useless against Rated FTR, 6-man tag for the trios title. The story of this match is more so the aftermath of the match. So it was telegraphed to me, like I knew they were going to do it, or I suspected they were going to do it. I didn't know for sure. But after the match, FTR turned on Edge. They were pretending to be cool with him, and then Dax hits a pile driver, grabs the chair, concerto, and then does a spike pile driver. And then there was actually a funny part where Cash they bring out the stretcher with the neck brace. Cash Wheeler snatches the neck brace, puts it on, then lays on the stretcher, pretending to have his neck broken to make fun of Edge. Now, I don't know what the explanation's going to be for why they turned on him. I know that this is obviously setting up Edge and Christian against FTR. Like, it's obvious that they're going to pull the trigger on that all in. I think the Christian thing will probably weave its way back into the storylines later this year. But I do see Christian eventually turning babyface and joining up with Edge against FTR. We'll see. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so. I think that's the big match they want to do. And honestly, FTR kind of needed this. To me, they've always worked better as heels, even though they're great at everything. And I'm glad they didn't split them up, because as much as I have respect for these guys, they do work better as a tag team. Like, they can have great singles matches, don't get me wrong. But as a tag team, they really, really are like tag team specialists. Like, they're geniuses. So that's really the story of the match, was they turned on him and are now going to be heels. Now, I had this idea for something they could do to explain why they betrayed Edge. And one of the things we could talk about is that disgusting spot that was controversial from 2 weeks ago with the bat with nails in it, Janice, who Edge suplexed Moxley on it. They could have FTR come out and say that they feel like that's disgusting and that they are pure wrestlers and of course this is all hypocrisy. That's the point. They're heels. And that the kind of wrestling they grew up with is not that. And so they kind of think that Adam Copeland lost his way, and they think that Adam Copeland might need to retire early, and that's why they laid him out for his own good. That's what I would do. Sort of have them be, since we know that FTR, let's be honest, they're cool with Jim Cornette. Everybody knows that. Have FTR say the stuff that Cornette says on his podcast, have them use that in a promo to get heat. Adam Copeland respected you, but then you started doing this outlaw mud show. You know what it is, right? So that I think is a great way to get heat on FTR and to give us some entertaining stuff on TV. I think that will work. I think that works. So again, the match, nothing special to me. I start to zone out here. Then we have Timeless Toni Storm against Megan Bane. This was okay. I don't think they're going to top any of the Mariah May matches. This was all right. Toni Storm is my second favorite act in AEW behind the Hurt Syndicate. She's probably my favorite woman in wrestling right now. And I do love that Timeless Toni Storm character. It's great. Toni Storm should not be losing that title anytime soon. Megan Bane probably had her best match in AEW that we've seen so far. But Toni Storm is the locomotive right now. She needs to keep... I'm still waiting for them to finally do Toni and Mercedes, hopefully at All In, because it seems like that's a logical way to go with this. But Megan Bane was kind of like trying to do the Drago kind of, this unstoppable genetic freak. Like, it kind of reminded me of what Charlotte was kind of booked as. There are some similarities there. But I don't see Megan Bane having that much charisma. It was okay. Toni Storm won with a small package, which means they could probably do a rematch. But I kind of want her to move on to something else. I don't know what Megan Bane's going to do next. Maybe the feud will continue. I don't know. So then we had Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. This is another match that I think should have probably been on television. Again, just a match that... Now look, the match was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good. It's just that by this point, when I'm watching this show, I'm just seeing these guys do moves. I'm watching the show and it's just, they're Mark Briscoe does a move and then Kyle Fletcher. We're just seeing moves. And I didn't really get into the psychology of this. It just felt like they were just doing moves. And that's one thing about the Briscoes. I've been watching the Briscoes for 20 years, since 04. And the Briscoes are interesting because that's Jay and Mark. They both can have really, really phenomenal matches, but sometimes what happens is a lot of their matches turn out to be just moves and there's no real story in it. It's still a spectacle, right? It's not bad. It's just, it's missing something. And with this, Kyle Fletcher won, probably in a way to rebuild him. This is for the Owen Hart. This is the Owen Hart tournament quarterfinal. But I just feel like, I don't know, man. This didn't need to be on the show. I don't think that Mark Briscoe or Kyle Fletcher needed to be on this pay-per-view against each other. It felt like even though this was good, again, it didn't add to the pay-per-view. It wasn't like I could sit here and say, wow, that match was phenomenal. And there are matches coming up that were. But it just felt to me like there was too much here. And Fletcher looked good. He actually won with the Sami Zayn El Generico finisher, the Brain Buster in the corner. But again, not a bad match. It's just we're starting to get long in the tooth here. Then we have Bandido versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World title. I like Bandido. I've been a fan of Jericho's for many years. Again, this could have probably been better on an ROH pay-per-view. If the show didn't end at like 12:15 at night, I wouldn't be saying this necessarily, but the match, I did like this match though, and I'll tell you why I liked it. It actually was memorable because Jericho, despite him being TV old and he needs to take a break from television, he's really good at doing character work. And there was a lot of great character work in this match. This was a lucha de apuestas match, which is title versus mask. And if Jericho pinned Bandido, he would have to unmask, which is a big deal in Mexico. So his Bandido's mother and sister were there at ringside, and the whole thing about this was a really sort of feel good moment for Bandido. Jericho has finally been defeated. I'll get to the finish here in a minute, but what happens is Jericho hits Bandido with a baseball bat with the referee not looking because Brian Keith and Gravity start to brawl, and then gets the 1-2-3. And I'm like, no way. Are they really going to unmask Bandido? But then what happens is Aubrey Edwards comes out, and she was talking to Bandido's mother, who told her about the baseball bat. She finds the baseball bat, shows it to Bryce. Bryce restarts the match. And then what ends up happening is there's a part where Jericho grabs Bandido's sister. She slaps him. Bandido comes up from behind and hits the reverse GTS and the 21 plex and then gets the title. So it was definitely a feel-good moment, and I liked the character work. But again, just nothing on this show really hit quite like Revolution. Adam Cole versus Daniel Garcia in a no interference, no time limit match. First of all, the fact they have to say no interference is so fucking stupid. There's not supposed to be interference in any match. Why do they do this? They do this with the Continental Classic also. No interference allowed. Isn't every match supposed to be like that? Like, is there like different rules for this? That's number one. Number two, I don't understand what the deal is with fucking Daniel Garcia. The guy, he's an average wrestler. Not a personal shot at him. I think he's pretty average. He's not special in any ways. He does a goofy dance. He doesn't have a lot of charisma. I've never seen a single Daniel Garcia match where I've been like, holy shit, he knocked my socks off. I don't understand what Tony sees in guys like him and Wheeler Yuta. Which, by the way, earlier in the show, the crowd chanted, fuck you, Yuta. And I was happy to hear that. But I'm just saying, like, I'm sure Daniel Garcia is a nice guy. I just don't, I don't like his matches. And this match just, it was another match where it was just moves. Moves. I'm doing your moves, you're doing my moves. It was just moves. And it dragged, and I didn't care. I mean, I love Adam Cole. All right, everybody knows how much I love Adam Cole. But man, this match went 15 minutes and 35 seconds, which is fine. I mean, for a title match, that's not that bad. But against the TNT title, which doesn't really mean that much to me. But, geez, man, I don't know what's going to happen here with Garcia. The whole thing was that it almost felt like they were teasing a heel turn. But, like, I just don't really care all that much. It's just, man, like, I don't like Daniel Garcia. I'm sorry. Like, I don't like him. He's boring to me. He's boring. I mean, you disagree, that's fine. I don't care. He did nothing to add anything to this show. Kenny Omega versus Ricochet versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the AEW International title. When you've got Kenny Omega in there, it's probably going to be good. You've got Ricochet in there, who's also a very good wrestler, and Speedball Mike Bailey, who I had seen in TNA, in Impact, prior to him being in AEW. So it felt like this is where I started to feel like the show was really dragging, because these three guys went out there and really worked hard. I mean, they threw everything and the kitchen sink. The match went 31 minutes, and here's the problem. At this point, it's already 11 p.m. It's past 11, and you're going 31 minutes, and there's still the world title match. So I'm over here like, okay, either take some of these matches off the pay-per-view or move this to earlier in the show, because I was tired. People in the crowd were tired. Remember, this is in Philadelphia on the East Coast. When I say 11, it's 11 for them too. And tomorrow is Monday. You know what I'm saying? Or today's Monday. But like, today's Monday. But like, if it was Vegas or California, it makes more sense because it's, time zones. But this was good though. Like, these guys really worked hard. And it's probably one of the best three-ways we've seen in AEW, like, ever. Like, I would put it up there. And they worked really hard. But there was a moment right around the middle of the match where I said, okay, now is the time to go home. And I was watching it with a group of people, and they were like, I agree. Even hardcore Kenny Omega fans were like, yeah, now's time to take it home. But they kept wrestling for another like 12 minutes, busting out even more crazy shit. There was one point in the match where Speedball Mike Bailey does the crane kick pose, and I'm like, I swear to God, Ricochet, if you fall for this, you've learned nothing from Johnny Lawrence. And he got kicked, and he fell for it. Come on, man. No, but there was a lot of good stuff here. Lots of three-way stuff. Lots of, like, V-triggers to break up pins. Like, in and of itself, just judging it based on the work, the match was great. The match was really, really great. But, man, it's the wrong time to put this match on this late because the people were tired. And remember, some of those fans traveled to be there. So the finish came with, he hits a one-winged angel on Ricochet, and Mike Bailey was trapped in the tree of woe. And so Omega gets the 1, 2, 3. Then Okada comes out and does a stare down with Kenny Omega. And then Kenny just leaves and Okada leaves. So they're teasing the match for All In. There's been no progression of the story. All that happens is they come out, they look at each other, and they leave. I get it. We're going to get Kenny Omega and Okada at the pay-per-view. Okada had the easiest payday of his life. He came out, looked at Kenny, went to the back. That's it. Easy, easy payday. But yeah, man, at this point, I am tired. But I'm into the main event because I want Swerve to win. I am done with this Jon Moxley title reign. Swerve Strickland versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World title. I was surprised at first that this was not a no DQ. But they start with like some MMA stuff early on, just a regular match. But at one point, there's a ref. The ref gets bumped. And I'm like, okay. Here comes the plunder. And here it came. Swerve did the double stomp on Mox from the top of a ladder through a table, through the commentator's table. And that was like insane. Like one slip up and there could have been a serious injury there. Like these two guys are known as guys who like work these really controversial matches. Don't forget the spike to the back of Mox from Dynamite a few weeks ago, and don't forget the syringe in Swerve's mouth. Like, these dudes are known to like work crazy, just work crazy. At one point, Marina Shafir gets in the ring and she's cut off by Prince Nana, and that actually popped me. Like, I was not expecting that. Then, of course, she decked him and then kicked him, and then Strickland grabs Shafir. And then Jon Moxley gets up, but he accidentally hits Shafir. That was awesome. So now what I was expecting was, of course, the interference. We had interference from the Dick Riders. They all ran down. Then we had the Ops, which is Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata. They come down and they kind of run them off. And then the finish, well, no, before that, Hangman comes out. Hangman was the first one to come out. I should mention that. And they were teasing if he was going to hit the buckshot lariat on either guy. But instead, Pac was there. Then they start brawling. And that's what leads to the Ops coming out. So that he came out first. Then the lights go out. And I make a joke. I'm like, what if it's Booker T? It's not Booker T. I knew it wasn't going to be Booker T. But if you've been keeping up with wrestling news the past couple of weeks, you know what I'm referencing. And then suddenly it's the Young Bucks, who we haven't seen in a while. And they hold Strickland and they hit him with the BTE trigger. Moxley crawls over, gets the 1, 2, 3. So Jon Moxley is still the AEW champion. The Bucks are now aligned with the Death Riders. And this was rumored for a while. The fact that Jon Moxley, who is a confirmed ratings killer, is still the AEW champion proves two things. Number one, Tony Khan does not give a shit. He'll book for himself. He doesn't care. And number two, after this, there's no question that Mox is holding that title for Darby. Darby Allin will beat him for that title. I don't want to see Darby Allin as world champion. I like Darby Allin, but I don't think he's the guy. I think Swerve is the guy. I think Swerve should be the centerpiece of that company. He's got a good look, a good size. He's respected. He came out, he's a great wrestler. Came out dressed like Static Shock. Like, I want Swerve to be the top guy in AEW. I really do. I don't want it to be Darby. I like Swerve more than Darby, but what can be done, bro? Moxley wins again. I know there's a lot of people who are going to be pissed off. I get it. 4.5 hour pay-per-view or something like that. Almost 5. Just to have Mox win again. Like, man, they don't understand the detriment that they're doing to that company. But it's AEW, bro. I even told myself I would watch Dynamite this week if Swerve won. He didn't, so I'm not going to watch. I'm good. I'll do something else. Maybe I'll be streaming at that time. We'll see. Anyways, man, mid-show by AEW standards, I would put this show well below Revolution. If you took some matches off of this show, it actually would have flowed better, and I would have rated it higher. But it went on long, too much of the same thing. Oh, man, I can't recommend somebody pay $50 for this. Work rate wise, it was still as good, or if not better, than most WWE shows. But in WWE, at least the matches are all different. The characters are super over. Whereas in AEW, not everybody is. So, yeah, man, it depends on what your tastes are. But don't expect this to be anywhere near Revolution quality. You got more than your money's worth with that show. This one, just a lot of filler and a lot of the same. Anyways, that's my review, man. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you have a great day and take care of yourself and each other. I'll see you guys this week for more.